Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Renegade Immortal based on novel. So let's start. After traveling for one day, Wang Lin stopped in the middle of a desert. He purposely traveled a very desolate flight path. He looked around and knew that, within a 10,000 kilometer radius, there were very few people and beasts. He stomped his feet, and his body immediately sunk into the ground. He stopped after reaching a depth of 2,000 feet. He then created a cave and sat down cross-legged. He pointed his finger at his brow and the devil Shuligo came out. Wang Lin looked at Shuligo. Shuligo obediently took out the nascent soul that was about to collapse and then stood to the side, staring at the nascent soul. Wang Lin didn't even look at Shuligo. He closed his eyes for a few breaths, then reopened them with a determined look. He opened his mouth and swallowed the nascent soul. The moment the nascent soul entered his body, the ancient god tactic immediately went to work like a great millstone. As the nascent soul dissolved, it released large amounts of energy that filled Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin immediately stopped the ancient god tactic to prevent it from using all this power on refining his body. As a result, under his control, this powerful spiritual energy moved through his body and toward his core. His core suddenly expanded and its color darkened. Its size continued to expand until cracks appeared on its surface. A sign of nascent soul slowly appeared in his body. But just at that moment, the G realm in his consciousness activated without his control. It quickly left his consciousness and traveled through his body toward his core. Wang Lin fiercely opened his eyes. No matter how much he tried to control his G realm, he couldn't gain control over it. The moment his G realm landed on his core, it exploded. After the explosion happened inside Wang Lin's body, the spiritual energy released by the explosion of his core collided with the spiritual energy from the nascent soul he devoured. The impact of the two spiritual energies sent all that energy out of Wang Lin's channels, as they swept across his body. Wang Lin's body was thrown around by the explosion in his body. He coughed out several mouthfuls of blood and his face immediately paled. He struggled to sit up. Wang Lin's eyes were dull and he was silent. After a long time, some light came back to his eyes and he closed them. After checking his body, he let out a crazed laugh. After crazily laughing for a long time, no matter how one listened to it, there was a hint of grief. Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot as he muttered, G-Realm Soul. G-Realm Soul. G-Realm Soul. His core inside his body didn't completely explode, but shrunk to the size of a thumbnail. After entering, Wang Lin took a deep breath and calmed his heart before starting to search through the books. Among these bamboo books was mostly information about restrictions. After scanning them, Wang Lin put them away, as none of them even contained the words G-Realm. Wang Lin's heart became heavy and he continued to look. Suddenly, his gaze fell onto a piece of bamboo. This bamboo looked extremely old and even showed some signs of damage. After picking it up, Wang Lin opened it up and his body trembled. He took it to a table and slowly opened it up. Most of what was on the bamboo was about restrictions, but on the back, a row of small words was carved. In the cultivation world, there can be a change in spiritual power that will result in something that could be called the G-Realm. I have studied the G-Realm for many years and I have left my research for the future generations. This mysterious force known as G-Realm, from my view, should be a divine technique. Only a divine technique would have the power to instantly kill a cultivator of the same realm. The final evolution of the G-Realm is believed to be the nascent soul stage by many other researchers, but after reading some historical text, I found a very interesting phenomenon. First of all, I want to say that, in the historical text, there is no direct indication of who has G-Realm, but from the context of the document, I managed to find track of several cultivators with G-Realm. Among these people, some stopped at core formation, some stopped at nascent soul, and some stopped at spirit severing. It could be said that there is no pattern and it all depends on each individual. In fact, all the breakthroughs in my G-Realm research are all thanks to one person. I won't say this person's name, but this person is the first G-Realm cultivator I have met. His cultivation level is nascent soul. This person wanted to break through nascent soul and reach spirit severing, so he came to me for help, but in the end, I still failed. Wang Lin was immersed in the text, reading it word by word. After a long time, he revealed a very confused expression. According to the record on the bamboo book, Wang Lin immediately realized that his own G-Realm limit was core formation, otherwise, his G-Realm wouldn't go out of control when he tried to form his nascent soul. As a result, his cultivation will be stuck at the late stage of core formation without any chance to break through in the future. Wang Lin found this unacceptable. If his cultivation couldn't break through, then those 400 years of suffering would never be released and Sichu Nan would never wake up, and all that he had done would stop right here. After a very long time, Wang Lin's eyes revealed a determined look. He took a deep breath and put the bamboo away as he slowly walked out of the cave. The first thing he must do is completely remove the lotus restriction on his body. A few days later, Wang Lin returned to the underground cave he had made before. There, he sat down cross-legged and took out his restriction flag. The moment the flag appeared, the entire cave was covered with thousands of restrictions. Wang Lin took a deep breath and slowly closed his eyes. He guided the chaotic spiritual energy in his body to move along the paths of his body's channels. Time flew by. He slowly cycled his spiritual energy through his body and through his core to repair the damages. Gradually, his core recovered and his cultivation returned to the peak of core formation late stage. Meanwhile, Wang Lin quickly cut his spiritual power off from his channels. Then, he gathered the spiritual energy in his body and slammed it against the lotus restriction. When he was trying to break into nascent soul, and his G realm attacked his core, the explosion that happened in his body loosened the lotus restriction. This time, with Wang Lin was intentionally attacking the lotus restriction. It weakened a lot. 3 days later, Wang Lin, whose eyes had been closed this whole time, suddenly opened his eyes. He moved his finger and tapped multiple spots on his chest. Every time his finger touched his chest, there was a ripple of spiritual energy on his finger. Slowly, as his hand began to move faster and faster, spots of light suddenly appeared on Wang Lin's chest. These spots of light came from inside Wang Lin's body. Soon, the spots increased and gradually formed the shape of a lotus. Wang Lin growled, placed his hands on each side of his chest, and slowly pushed them out. Those light points slowly moved out of his body. The lights intertwined into the shape of a white lotus, and looked as if they were slowly leaving his body. Until the lights were floating 3 inches outside of his body, there were still slivers of light coming from the lotus connecting to this body. Giant beads of sweat appeared on Wang Lin's forehead. His whole body was also soaked in sweat, but in order to completely remove this lotus restriction, Wang Lin clenched his teeth and suddenly pushed out his hands. Suddenly, all of the connections from the lotus to Wang Lin were pushed out and floated forward. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He quickly slapped his bag of holding and a small beast flew out. It hit the lotus restriction. Shortly after, the lotus restriction became like a mad demon and quickly surrounded the small beast. After flashing a few times, the restriction quickly sunk into the small beast and disappeared. It was not until this moment that Wang Lin let out a breath. A cold light filled his eyes and he placed his hand on the small beast's head. The beast let out a burst of hissing sounds and quickly flew out of the cave. The restrictions surrounding the cave opened up a small passage for the beast as it got closer. Even the dirt in the ground opened up a passage under Wang Lin's control. After Wang Lin left the cave, his speed reached its limit and his body moved like a meteor into the distance. The next morning, Wang Lin arrived back at the ancient cultivation cave, where he got the nascent soul with Chiu Siping. After arriving, he scanned the area with his divine sense. After making sure there was no one around, he slapped his bag of holding and his poisoned sword flew out. With the point of his finger, the sword formed a swirl and charged into the rubble. Soon, a tunnel was carved by the sword. After looking at the tunnel formed by the sword, Wang Lin thought, "Goodbye, Sea of Devils." He turned and entered the tunnel. Inside, he found the room with the ancient transfer array. He didn't enter the room, but turned around and waved his hand, causing the tunnel to collapse and sealing the entrance. Shortly after, his hand moved, forming many restrictions to completely cover the cave. Only then did he walk into the stone room. The stone room had also collapsed a bit, but as Wang Lin and Chiu Siping were fleeing the cave, he paid special attention to this room and secretly sent out a restriction to protect it. So, although the place collapsed a bit, it didn't damage the transfer array. After carefully removing the rocks from the room, Wang Lin carefully studied the transfer array for a bit, then took out a glowing spirit stone. This spirit stone was crystal clear, and looked like it had clouds floating inside. This spirit stone was an extremely rare high-quality spirit stone, and also something that was required to open the ancient transfer array. After hesitating for a while, Wang Lin's eyes revealed a determined look. He placed the high-quality spirit stone into one of the sockets in the ancient transfer array, and looked at it with a glow in his eyes. He watched as the high-quality spirit stone began to shine and the cloud inside it started to move. Shortly after, purple lines began to spread from the spirit stone and covered the entire transfer array. Then, thunderous sounds began to emit from the transfer array. He took a deep breath, then turned toward the transfer array and took out his poison sword. He cut out a piece of the transfer array and placed it into his bag of holding. Only then did he feel relaxed. Now, even if that crazy old man found traces of him, the old man wouldn't be able to use the transfer array to chase after him. And now that the lotus restriction was also removed, Wang Lin's safety was guaranteed. Wang Lin jumped into the air. He immediately noticed that this place's spiritual energy was very thick, and the higher he flew into the air, the thicker it got. He floated in the air and created a restriction to place in the canyon to serve as a marker. Then, he quickly left without looking back. As Wang Lin was flying, he spread out his divine sense to check the area and slowly increased his search range. He didn't know where he was, and the most important thing right now was to find out where he was. Then, if conditions allow, Wang Lin will begin his plan on breaking through to the nascent soul stage. This was a very time-consuming plan. He must prepare a lot of things to make sure this plan comes to fruition without any problems. Destroying his cultivation meant that he would have to start all over again, which was something he refused to do. Not destroying his cultivation meant that he will be stuck at the late stage of core formation and will not be able to have his revenge. To not have to destroy his cultivation and break through to nascent soul was his goal. With those two goals in mind, there was only one method left that might barely work. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He spread out his divine sense and scanned the surrounding area as he flew by at an extremely quick speed. Suddenly, he stopped and looked north. 2,000 kilometers north were two cultivators heading east. Both cultivators were male. One of them was pretty young and was only at the early stage of foundation building. The other was a middle-aged man who was at the early stage of core formation. Mai Guorong was a disciple of the Haoran sect. Following the order of his teacher, he was going to the Cloud Sky sect for their biannual Kailing gathering. The so-called Kailing gathering was just a pill auction hosted by the Cloud Sky sect. The Cloud Sky sect was famous for their pill production in the cultivation country of Chu. Even some rank 4 countries would come to trade for their pills, but that only happened every 10 years, in the largest Kailing gathering. As for these biannual gatherings, they were mostly for the younger generation of the cultivation country of Chu to meet and compete. In these small Kailing gatherings, there wouldn't be any precious pills, only some standard stuff. But, for these young cultivators, they were still things they couldn't get enough of. It has to be said that a pill made by the Cloud Sky sect is at least 10% better than other pills. As a result, all of the pills made by the Cloud Sky sect are very much in demand. Also, the Cloud Sky sect doesn't do any trades with outsiders unless it's during these Kailing gatherings. So, even though it was only a 2-year gap between gatherings, every sect in the cultivation country of Zhao would send many of their younger disciples to come. Mai Guorong was very proud that he was picked to come from the numerous disciples in the sect, but he also knew that the reason he was able to participate was because he had a good teacher. Thinking about that, Mai Guorong's gaze fell on the middle-aged man in front of him. This person looked very ordinary. His face was very yellow and his complexion made him look like he could die at any moment, but Mai Guorong didn't dare to take this person lightly. He wholeheartedly respected the person before him, because this middle-aged man was his teacher, and was also at the early stage of core formation. These facts made Mai Guorong feel very lucky to have such a teacher. It has to be said that to be taken as a disciple by a core formation cultivator was very rare, even in the Haoran sect. Mai Guorong's status in the sect immediately shot up, and he instantly became an inner disciple. Although he was still not a core disciple, if Mai Guorong's cultivation rises a bit more, to late-stage foundation building, then he will automatically become a core disciple. What also made him respect his teacher a lot was that his teacher was one of the few alchemists in the sect. Although the pills his teacher made weren't as good as the Cloud Sky sects, they were not that far off. As a result, his teacher's status was very high in the sect, and as a result of that, Mai Guorong's status in the sect rose as well. Maintain your calm, and don't think about unnecessary things. We are very close to the Cloud Sky sect. Don't lose any face for the Haoran sect. That hoarse voice interrupted Mai Guorong's thoughts. He stopped his daydreaming and closely followed behind his teacher. After a while, Mai Guorong looked at his teacher and curiously asked, "Teacher, the Cloud Sky sect," before he could finish speaking, he saw the yellow-faced middle-aged man's expression suddenly change. The middle-aged man suddenly stopped and turned around with his eyes focused on something in the distance. He shouted, "Shut up." My Gurong was stunned. He turned and looked, but only saw the clouds and the blue sky, nothing abnormal at all. He had some doubts, but he suddenly heard a series of thunderous roars and saw the clouds in the distance get pushed forward by a strong force. My Gurong's face suddenly changed, revealing a horrified expression. At the same time, he saw a shadow moving like lightning toward them. In just a few breaths, that shadow was already closing in. The white-haired youth was Wang Lin. He scanned both cultivators, and his eyes landed on Xu Li. He clasped his hands and said, "Fellow cultivator, what cultivation country am I in?" Xu Li was stunned. He looked at Wang Lin for a bit, then answered, "This is the cultivation county of Chu." "Where did fellow cultivator come from?" "Cultivation country of Chu," Wang Lin muttered to himself, not answering the other's question. He slapped his bag of holding. His actions caused Xu Li's expression to change greatly. He quickly grabbed hold of his disciple and swiftly took a few steps back with a cautious look on his face. Wang Lin looked at him. He opened his hand and showed a piece of jade. He put the piece of jade on his forehead, and a map appeared in his mind. This was the piece of jade he had gotten from Zhu Ziheng at the Battle God Temple. It contained the map of countries near the country of Hufen. When he heard that it was the country of Chu, he felt like he had heard of this name somewhere before. After checking the jade, he immediately found out roughly where he was at the moment. The country of Chu had a border with Hufen to the north, Xianwu to the east, and even a small border with the Sea of Devils. As for the rest, it was a mountain range called Broken Rocks. It could be said that the cultivation country of Chu was a country very close to the Broken Rocks mountain range. According to the description in the piece of jade, this country was very large and contained a lot of cultivators. As a cultivation country, the country of Chu was very close to rising up into a rank 4 country. This was because there were more than 10 people at the late stage of nascent soul in the cultivation country of Chu. These powerful cultivators were the core of the country. As long as one of those people managed to break into the spirit severing stage, the entire country will be raised to a rank 4 country. This was why, when country of Hufen raised up to 4th rank, they decided to invade the country of Xianwu instead of Chu. After all, compared to Chu, the country of Xianwu was a much better choice for Hufen. There was also some information about some sects in the country of Chu. Wang Lin checked the jade for a bit, then put it away. He looked at Xu Li and asked, "Fellow cultivator, what part of Chu is this place?" Xu Li kept his hand on his bag of holding. He was very alert. When he heard Wang Lin's question, he pondered a bit, then answered, "This is the Cloud Sky Mountain Range." Wang Lin nodded. He looked around and stared into the distance, then blandly said, "So, if I continue for 10,000 kilometers, at the top of the Cloud Sky Mountain Range, is the Cloud Sky sect." Xu Li's eyes revealed a shocked expression. He said, "Does Sir have business with the Cloud Sky sect?" Wang Lin faintly smiled. He looked at Xu Li and clasped his hands. "Thank you. Farewell," he said. With that, Wang Lin quickly moved, forming a trail of light, and disappeared. It wasn't until Wang Lin left that Xu Li let out a breath. His back was covered in sweat, and when he was hit by a quick breeze, he could feel a cold sensation on his back. The pressure Wang Lin brought on him was enormous. The fact that Xu Li was an alchemist meant that his resolve was much better than that of other cultivators of his level. If it wasn't, he would have completely panicked when he was talking to Wang Lin. As for Wang Lin, after he determined his location, he quickly flew forward while scanning the area with his divine sense. According to the map, the Cloud Sky sect should be just up ahead. Wang Lin secretly nodded his head. He was glad that that teacher and disciple duo didn't lie to him. After determining its location, Wang Lin stopped. Since the Cloud Sky sect was just up ahead, he decided to find a place nearby to go into closed-door cultivation. Wang Lin stopped at a mountainside about 7,000 to 8,000 kilometers from the Cloud Sky sect. He looked around and revealed a satisfied look. Then, he slapped his bag of holding and a flying sword came out. He sent the flying sword swirling into the side of the mountain. Soon, a cave was carved into the side of the cliff. The cave was built according to Wang Lin's preference, with 2 rooms. After Wang Lin entered the cave, he pondered for a bit, then opened up another room. After all that, he left the cave. He slapped his bag of holding and the restriction flag came out. Both of his hands formed a seal and pointed at the flag. The flag started to wave without any wind and quickly became 10 times larger. Then, Wang Lin's hand started to form multiple seals and sending out multiple beams of light. The restriction flag quickly started to stretch indefinitely, forming a canopy that could cover the entire sky. Wang Lin calmly shouted, "Scatter." With those words, the black canopy immediately began to tremble. Thousands of restrictions fell from the flag and into the mountain range. Soon, all of the restrictions on the flag came out and covered the entire mountain range. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He waved his hand and the restriction flag shrunk and returned to his hand. He waved his right hand and the restriction flag pierced into the mountain. From the outside, the cave disappeared from the mountain range and everything else looked exactly the same as before. Wang Lin pondered a little. His hand moved and created several restrictions. He placed them in different locations in the mountain range. Finally, after the restrictions formed a tight defensive formation, he relaxed. His body moved forward. When his body touched the side of the mountain, his body disappeared and he entered the cave. Inside the cave, he quickly touched his bag of holding and an object appeared in his hand. This was the green dragon jade that Li Muwen had gifted to him. Although there were some cracks on it, it didn't affect its usage. After Wang Lin looked at it for a while, he activated a spiritual technique on the jade. Suddenly, a roar emitted from the jade. A green dragon came out of it and circled around Wang Lin. The dragon became larger and larger as it circled Wang Lin. The dragon went through the walls of the cave as if there was nothing in its way. The green dragon let out a roar and fused into the cave, thus forming another protective layer. This cave could be said to be the most secure place Wang Lin had ever created. Wang Lin spent a lot of effort on the defenses of this cave. The reason being that unless something really unexpected happens, he will be living here for a very long time. Wang Lin stood in the cave and pondered for a very long time. He revealed a determined look and pointed his hand to his brow. The devil Shuligua and the second devil came out of his forehead. After the two devils appeared, they each had different reactions. The moment the second devil appeared, it instantly looked at Wang Lin with a look of devotion and admiration. Now, as long as Wang Lin commands it, even if he was ordered to fight a spirit-severing cultivator, he would go without any hesitation, even if death was certain. As for Shuligua, when he appeared, he secretly looked around, but put on a respectful look and a pleasing smile in front of Wang Lin. Wang Lin pointed at a stone room and said, "From today onward, you two devils will live in that stone room. If you leave that room without my permission, then you will be erased." After the two devils entered the room, Wang Lin sent out his G realm and scanned the area. He left behind some of his divine sense before he withdrew it. If the two devils don't listen and try to leave the room, they will be attacked by the G realm. Wang Lin had to be on guard, because those two devils were created by him. Normally, he wouldn't be afraid of any changes, but the thing he was about to do couldn't have any accidents, so he trapped the two devils in the room. After that, Wang Lin pondered for a while, then walked into the room in the center. He sat down cross-legged and took a deep breath. He pointed at his brow and a rainbow-colored ball of light floated out of his brow and became more solid, revealing a heaven-defying look. After looking at the heaven-revolting bead for a while, he waved his right hand and the bead floated to the side. Then, he took out several jade bottles and placed them on the left and right sides. Afterward, he quietly closed his eyes and started to meditate. Time flew by, and a year had already passed. In this last year, aside from gathering the liquid from the bead, Wang Lin hardly moved at all. During his meditation over the past year, he compressed all of his excess spiritual energy into 3 swirls, and within these 3 swirls was that divine retribution red line. In a year's time, Wang Lin had managed to completely suppress the red thread, but he didn't dare relax at all. Although the red thread was small, it contained the power of a divine retribution. If it was not handled properly, the result would be his body being destroyed by the thread. Although his body had already undergone one reconstruction, he didn't want to use his body as a test. In addition to that, Wang Lin had been spending the rest of his time studying the avatar technique. This was his way of getting around his inability to break through to the nascent soul stage. Even now, Wang Lin still clearly remembered the cave in the back mountain of the War God's temple. He was reaching into his memories to remember the avatar technique carved in the cave. Back then, he spent a lot of time studying the technique and learning its secrets. This technique was used to create another real body as a doppelganger. Relying on the avatar to increase the cultivation speed, then, when breaking through to the nascent soul stage, save the avatar, fuse back into the body, and increase the chance of breaking through. However, the avatar had a fatal flaw. It had no cultivation when it was created, and its lifespan would only be 30 years. The reason Wang Lin didn't use this method back then was because he didn't have enough pills for himself. So how would he have anything for his avatar? But now, Wang Lin saw a method in this technique to allow him to not only preserve his cultivation, but to also reach the nascent soul stage. Then plan was to use the avatar to reach the nascent soul stage in 30 years, then fuse it back with this body, allowing him to bypass the block that was preventing him from reaching the nascent soul stage. This way, he won't need to destroy his cultivation to break through to nascent soul stage. However, there was one difficult part in this plan, and that was for his avatar to break into the nascent soul stage in merely 30 years. With the Heaven Revolting Space's help, the time could be extended. With the normal 6 times the training time in the Heaven Revolting Space, Wang Lin had 180 years for his avatar to reach the nascent soul stage. But there was another very important problem, and that was pills. This problem will be solved at the Cloud Sky sect. This was also why, after Wang Lin arrived and found out that the Cloud Sky sect was near, he decided to do his closed-door training here. Wang Lin's expression remained calm. Before him were 3 white bottles filled with liquid gathered from the Heaven Revolting bead throughout this year. This liquid was the first gift he had for his avatar. After pondering for a while, his eyes revealed a determined look. His hands formed a seal, and he followed the steps of the avatar technique to create his avatar. This avatar technique was not very difficult if you could see through all of the details in the technique, as it had no relationship to one's talent or power. Otherwise, Chen Chong, who had the worst talent at the War God Temple, wouldn't have been the only one aside from the creator to have seen through the secret of the avatar technique. Suzaku Calendar, year 134,500. In the cultivation country of Chu, there was a ray of light that emerged in its territories. After 3 days had passed, all of the sects had sent disciples to check it out, but they ultimately found nothing other than an abandoned cave. It was rumored that a treasure appeared here, but was already taken by someone. As for this rumor, some cultivators refused to believe it, while other cultivators believed that it was true. Because the ray of light appeared near the Cloud Sky sect, the rumors became that the treasure was obtained by the Cloud Sky sect. In the same year, the Cloud Sky sect was able to refine a Qian Sun pill. This pill's quality had reached the early stage of 5th rank. The pill's effect was to allow a nascent soul cultivator that had lost their body to immediately rebuild a new one, without the need to steal a body to achieve rebirth. The moment this pill appeared, the already famous Cloud Sky sect became even more famous. All of the surrounding rank 4 counties wanted to get the pill, but in the end, the Jumo sect from a rank 4 country got the pill through a secret agreement. Before they left, they placed a formation on the Cloud Sky sect. The formation was very strong. Even normal rank 4 countries would have trouble breaking it. In the end of that month, the Cloud Sky sect opened its doors for recruiting, something that happens once every 30 years. Various cultivation families in the country of Chu would send their descendants to the Cloud Sky sect, hoping that they would be able to join the sect and achieve greatness with the backing of the sect. However, the requirements to join the Cloud Sky sect were very strange. Unlike the other sects, where they looked at how talented a person was, the Cloud Sky sect's recruitment was based on a special technique. As a result, the recruiting that only happened every 30 years would only ever result in about 10 or so people being recruited. It was really small compared to the thousands of people that would gather for this event. With the Cloud Sky sect's fame and how few disciples they took in, almost all of the cultivators, without any sect or background, dreamt that they could become disciples of the Cloud Sky sect. At the top of the Cloud Sky sect mountain were rows of puzzles carved from jade in an immortal palace. This was only part of the Cloud Sky sect. All of the other jade carvings were hidden by different techniques. From a distance, one could only see a lush, green forest, nothing else. 3 large green words were being held in the air by some spell, like giant lanterns being hung off the doorway. The 3 words were Cloud Sky sect. When the recruiting event, which occurred every 30 years and lasted for 10 days, started, those 3 words would appear in the sky, and once the 10-day period was over, the 3 words would disappear. As a result, all of the scattered cultivators and the cultivation families in the country of Chu knew that the moment those 3 words appeared in the sky, the Cloud Sky sect had started their recruitment for disciples in the country of Chu. The moment those 3 words disappeared, the recruitment event was over. This morning, there were no clouds in the sky. Rays of sword light flew in from all directions toward the Cloud Sky sect. When they were around 1,000 kilometers away from the Cloud Sky sect mountain, they all got off their flying swords, revealing many youths. All of them were fairly young. Some came by themselves, while others came with their elders. In order to show their respect to the Cloud Sky sect, basically all of the people who wanted to join the sect got off their flying swords 1,000 kilometers away and walked toward the sect on foot. If one were to look down from the sky right now, they could see that, within 1,000 kilometers of the Cloud Sky sect, were countless people walking toward the sect. Outside the gate of the Cloud Sky sect stood 3 cultivators, who were responsible for arranging lodging and necessities for the people who came to try to join the sect. Upon a closer look, the girl was very attractive, and describing her as a beautiful flower would not be wrong. The girl pouted her red lips and rubbed her legs. "Elder brother, what's so good about this Cloud Sky sect that I have to come all the way here? I don't like alchemy. I like the sword sect," she complained. The man's expression remained normal. He looked at the girl, then poked her forehead and smiled. "There is too much killing in the sword sect. It is not suitable for you. I'm sure know that the Cloud Sky sect is a very important sect in the country of Chu. Even if the country of Chu suffers a great disaster, it wouldn't affect the Cloud Sky sect. If you can get into the Cloud Sky sect, your brother will be relieved. If mother and father were still alive, they would be relieved as well." When the girl heard her brother talk about their parents, her expression darkened a little. After pondering for a while, she obediently nodded her head. She then pointed into the forest and said to her brother, "Elder brother, if I get into the Cloud Sky sect, I'll make pills just for you. Then, once your cultivation is high, we can go home and teach those old guys a lesson." When the man heard this, he turned and a cold light appeared in his eyes. In fear of scaring his sister, he never told her the truth of what had happened that year. The girl's eyes widened as she looked at a youth in front of her and laughed. "Elder brother, look. That man is wearing some funny-looking clothes." The man looked up and saw that 200 feet in front of them was a youth wearing very crudely made clothes slowly walking toward the sect. It has to be said that all of the people that came to try to join the Cloud Sky sect were either independent cultivators or people from cultivation families. It was impossible for mortals to get there. Therefore, it was very rare to see someone dressed like this. This was clearly the look of an ordinary mountain villager. As if hearing the girl's voice, the youth turned around to look at them, and without pause, he withdrew his gaze and kept walking forward. The girl's elder brother curled his lips and let out a faint smile. He wasn't angry with the youth's reply at all. Instead, when his sister asked the question, he had the same feeling. The girl stomped her foot and caught up with the youth. She walked at his side and disgruntledly said, "What I asked was not pointless. With your clothes, no matter how you look, it doesn't look like you're here to join the sect. Look at everyone else. No one else is dressed like you. You have to know that when the Cloud Sky sect accept disciples," the youth frowned again and secretly sighed. From his view, this girl was like a newborn chick, and a very annoying one at that. If it was not for his cultivation being too low right now, he would have already waved his sleeves and left instead of suffering this girl's pestering. Time quickly passed by and it was afternoon now. The sun blazed in the sky and sweat oozed out of the youth's forehead. He bitterly smiled in his heart. It had been a long time since he ran out of breath like a mortal. Just at that moment, the girl next to him put her hand on her bag of holding and took out a few lychee nuts. After putting them in her mouth, she looked at the youth and raised her hand toward him. She asked, "Do you want this?" The youth didn't even look at it. He shook his head and continued to walk forward. The girl slightly snorted and didn't bother with it anymore. She returned to her brother's side and put all of the lychee nuts in her brother's hand. 2 hours later, the Cloud Sky sect's gate appeared in the distance. The youth let out a sigh after looking at the magnificent gate. He couldn't help but think about the Hengyu sect. This youth was Wang Lin. More accurately, this was Wang Lin's avatar that was created by the avatar technique. This doppelganger was created by the avatar technique from his main body and had real flesh and blood. But this body only had 30 years to live. This was his only plan to break through into nascent soul stage while not losing his cultivation. As for his main body, it was hidden somewhere near the Cloud Sky sect. He had already abandoned the cave he was using before because, when the avatar appeared, a ray of light shot out into the sky. As a result, he had to quickly abandon the cave and find another place to start his closed-door cultivation. After staying at the Cloud Sky sect for a few days, the three big words floating in the sky slowly dissipated. Eventually, they disappeared without a trace, signaling the end of the Cloud Sky sect's recruitment period. What was next was to pick around 10 or so people to join as disciples of the Cloud Sky sect. Everyone else would be dismissed from the Cloud Sky sect's mountain. On this day, thousands of people who wanted to join the Cloud Sky sect sat cross-legged on a huge stage at the foot of the mountain, waiting for the exam. Among these people were men and women, old and young, and some had even reached core formation, while others were like Wang Lin, who were only at the second or third layer of chi condensation. There were dozens of Cloud Sky disciples standing on the edge of the stage with indifferent looks on their faces. They were releasing hints of pride. After all, they were already members of the Cloud Sky sect, so their positions were naturally higher than those who wished to join. Not long after, a middle-aged man wearing a white robe with 3 pills embroidered on the cuffs floated down from the mountain. He floated in the area above the stage and looked at everyone there. He said, in a low tone, "If you wish to join my Cloud Sky sect, your seniority will be low. If you're not willing, then leave now." When he finished speaking, none of the thousands of people on the stage left. They all looked up at the person with determined looks in their eyes. Among these people were a few core formation cultivators. They knew that the middle-aged man's words were for them. After waiting for a little, the middle-aged man waved his right hand and a burst of force suddenly erupted from the center of the stage, pushing all of the nearby people away and exposing an open space 10 feet in diameter on the stage. At the same time, a dark mist column rose up from the ground there. It looked very majestic. This thick, dark mist pillar felt like it was a giant hand that was used to hold the sky up. After it rose from the ground, it stretched so far into the sky that if one were to look up from the bottom, they wouldn't able to see the top. The middle-aged man's voice floated toward the crowd. "Using whatever method you choose, as long as you can feel exactly what substance is inside this dark mist pillar, then you are qualified. The time limit is 6 hours. With that, he landed on the side and stood silently, watching the dark mist pillar. Time passed by and, in the blink of an eye, 3 hours had passed. Some of the people in the crowd were already getting restless. They had already tried to probe with their divine sense, but whenever their divine sense got near the dark mist, a mysterious force would push them away. No matter what method they tried, they found no success. At last, one person slapped his bag of holding and took out a wood carving. This piece of wood was shaped like an eagle. He chanted a few words, then threw the wood carving toward the dark mist pillar. The middle-aged man, who was in charge of recruiting disciples, didn't say anything about this action, but he quietly looked at the pillar. Wang Lin noticed that although the middle-aged man's expression remained calm, the Cloud Sky sect's disciples that were around revealed strange expressions on their faces for a brief moment. The moment the wood eagle appeared, it instantly grew and finally turned into a golden eagle, which rushed toward the pillar. But the moment the golden eagle touched the pillar, a hand suddenly appeared from the pillar, grabbed the golden eagle, and pulled it into the black mist. The person who sent out the golden eagle's expression suddenly changed. He quickly stood up and quickly turned toward the middle-aged man and said, "Junior gives up and would like Senior to return the treasure. This is Junior's family treasure. Please, Senior." The middle-aged man scanned the person and slowly said, "The golden wooden eagle is the Gongsun family's inheritance treasure. Our sect will of course not keep it. Since you have already quit, it will be returned to you when everyone leaves." The person's gaze immediately relaxed a bit. His eyes were filled with gratitude as he walked down the stage. The middle-aged man stressed again, "I have already said this before, you can use anything you like. As long as you can clearly see what is inside, then you have passed." This time, a youth on the stage cautiously asked, "But if we say what is inside the pillar, then won't everyone else here know as well?" The middle-aged man smiled and replied, "Not possible. If one of you can see through the mist, you will know the secret that lies here." When the hand came out of the black mist pillar, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He had been constantly watching the restriction, and when the hand appeared, a tiny gap appeared. With his knowledge and divine eye, he immediately saw several pills floating inside the mist pillar. Wang Lin's expression remained normal, but his heart skipped a beat. However, he pondered for a while, but didn't act rashly. This time, more people became restless in the crowd and brought out their treasures to try to break this dark mist, take her up the mountain. The middle-aged man smiled at the girl. He waved his sleeve and returned back to where he was and waited for the next person to pass. That girl still felt like everything was a blur. While still dazed, she was led up the mountain by a Cloud Sky sect disciple. Seeing that someone had managed to pass the exam, all of the people on the stage started to discuss with each other, but as for the people of the Cloud Sky sect, they weren't bothered by it at all. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He clearly saw that it wasn't because the girl saw through the black mist, but the piece of jade inside the black mist chose the girl. And when the middle-aged man saw the piece of jade falling into the girl's hand, he didn't immediately announce her passing, but went up to check the piece of jade before announcing it. Through this, Wang Lin judged that the middle-aged man went to check if the jade really chose her, so, if he had acted rashly before, he would have revealed a weak point. Wang Lin sneered. This Cloud Sky sect's method of accepting disciples was indeed strange. Just at that moment, a golden light suddenly started to flash from the pillar again. Wang Lin's eyes flashed and his right hand secretly made a restriction. With the spiritual energy he had right now, he could only use a few simple restrictions, and was unable to make an illusionary circle. Nevertheless, the restrictions he possessed were ancient restrictions passed down by the ancient god. It was not something normal cultivators could match. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.